Alright, here we are for another round of comic reviews, this time for the week of April 22nd. We have X-Force number 14. Now we're knee-deep in the Messiah conflict, and if you don't know who Strife is, you're not really going to enjoy this book. I'm really missing Michael Choi. I thought he was going to be the main artist on this whole Messiah War thing. I guess maybe he's just doing one-shots. His art is missed. This Clay guy, though his art is really neat to look at. I don't know, it just feels kind of sloppy with the way it looks. Deadpool is still awesome. This is a really good book to get Deadpool in. In fact, Deadpool's massive expansion through this whole Messiah War thing, he comes off as the best character. Interesting developments for the Archangel character, so check that out as well. This looks like it's going to be a neat successor to the whole Messiah complex that happened, I think, a year or 2 years ago at this point. Next off on the X front, we have Astonishing XMen 29. I mean, I don't even think I have enough fingers to count from the last time we've had an Astonishing X-Men book from Warren Ellis, and I have to say, why don't I hate this book? I have no idea why I don't hate this book. I hate lateness. I do not like Simone Bianchi's art, but for whatever reason, the writing is really sharp, the characters are great, and the ideas are generally just interesting. It's neat to be interested in an X-Men book for having neat ideas. I mean, they've really... I don't know, they've become cliched. I mean, they've been around for so long that a lot of these X-Men books and ideas that are dealing with civil rights and all that stuff feels really played out. This whole science fiction angle, the multi-dimensional thing that Warren Ellis has been goofing around with, it plays off great. All the characters read well. And Cyclops, you know, he comes off real well in this book. Definitely check it out. Moving on to the rest of Marvel, we have Guardians of the Galaxy number 13. This is in the War of King books. I'm really starting to regret not picking up War of Kings number 2. It seems like this is actually kind of cool. The Guardians of the Galaxy are back. The last issue was pretty pointless. It almost felt like it was a tack on to the end of Nova. But yeah, they're back. The Guardians are twice the size. The team is back together. And the addition of Jack Flag is fantastic. I mean, everyone's back, and I think that what has really caused this book to fail is just splitting up that cast. They're all back together. Cosmo is funny. And, well, I guess it's funny that they come back together. Technically, they split apart in this book again, but there is some great Rocket Raccoon sequences, and they seem to finally have a good artist again. If they can keep this artist, this momentum, and keep the team still together, hopefully I really hope they don't make any dumb decisions and kill off anybody in this arc, because they really need all the characters to balance this book out and make it readable. A good comeback from Abnett and Lanning. So much so, like I said, I might hunt down War of Kings number 2. Next off, we have Thor 601, or Thor 13 or 14 at this point, if you started from the reboot from Straczynski. It's a pretty good issue. It really misses the art. I think the normal artist's name was Oliver Koppel. He's taken a break. That guy's artwork was fantastic. This guy's okay. It pulls off pretty well, but it just doesn't shine the way that other guys did. The story moves pretty well. There's been some interesting events moving forward, but I don't know. It doesn't really capture the momentum that was built up in issue 600. I expect some fun things to play out. Loki is definitely a big player in the Marvel Universe right now. Next off, we have another book I really thought I was going to hate, but Iron Fist number 25. Iron Fist is a solid series. This is one of those ones where you might as well start picking up the graphic novels. If you missed it, you're not going to hit a dull point. The Burbaker change over to Swarzynski. I have no idea how to say that guy's name. This new arc, The Eighth City, The Eighth Gate, has been great. It's made up for those weird one-shots they did a while back. And I know Iron Fist is going to disappear for a while. They're going to have a mini-series called The Weapons, so definitely check that out. They're going to be focusing on the other immortal weapons other than Iron Fist. The series has been really cool. I'm going to say it's been a pretty positive week. This was a good week for comics, and I'm glad that it has been really strong. Next off, we have Kick-Ass, number 6. Kick-Ass was starting to kind of spin in its place. I mean, I think Mark Millar has kind of overextended himself, his style. And he's one of those guys where it's like, alright, everyone's going to be a jerk. This is going to be kind of realistic. Ever since Ultimates, it's kind of felt like everything he's been doing hasn't been that impressive, especially this Fantastic Four run. Well, Kick-Ass number 6, especially exploring the backstory of Big Daddy and Hit Girl. Big Daddy, Bioshock references floating through my mind. There was some good heart to this. I think I don't want to follow the character of Kick-Ass anymore, but the more we have of Hit Girl, the better. She's definitely an interesting character and great last page. Definitely want to see more of that. Pick this up. I mean, I don't think you really have needed to have read the other issues to get this really neat single shot of Hit Girl and Big Daddy. My final Marvel book is, yet again, one of my favorites. I don't know why people aren't reading this book. It is Incredible Hercules, 128. It's Herc versus the Dark Avengers. And again, any book that isn't called the Dark Avengers, that has the Dark Avengers in it, they're awesome. There's a lot of great scenes with Hercules. This book is still very funny, very clever. And Herc takes on Sentry and Dark Reign Spider-Man. So definitely check that out. It's a great book. I'm laughing. I cannot wait for the next issue. And a really, really, really creepy last page for you. So make sure to check that out. If you're not already subscribing to Hercules, cancel your Hulk subscription. That book, stop reading it. I know Hulk 11 came out this week. I didn't pick it up. The joke's over. It's not as funny anymore. Go to Hercules. He's awesome. On to the DC side, one book this week. I know they had a couple others, but there's only really one book worth looking at, and it's Neil Gaiman's Batman Detective Comics 853, the second part of Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader. Batman's crazy vision. I feel like I ate peyote, and then I opened a blank comic, and I vision quested my way through this thing. This thing is weird. Instead of last time, where there was only 2 or 3 what-if Batman deaths, they basically almost, on certain pages, there's almost 3 or 4. Like, they will have a 6-panel grid, and 2 of the panels each will handle their own take on Batman. Like, this goes over a whole bunch of things, and this has a super trippy, I'm not quite sure what I read ending. I mean, this is weird. I can get behind weird, but this is weird. And coming from Neil Gaiman, I wasn't expecting that kind of weird. I'm going to throw weird in one more time. Weird. I'm not quite sure if Batman fans are going to jive with this, but if you like weird books, you like Neil Gaiman, this is weird. Give it a try. It has no bearing whatsoever on what's going on with the rest of Batman, but hey, Andy Kubert, that guy's pretty good. Better than his brother. So I will snidely say, great art, and move along. For the Image side, one Image book, it is the all-new, all-awesome Invincible 61. After a really cool issue 60, where Invincible basically fought alternate reality versions of himself, his big-brained nemesis, his name escapes me right now, unleashed like a dozen or so alternate reality in Invincibles, and they basically trashed the Earth, killing millions. And this is the Fallout issue of that. It was a Fallout issue. I mean, not a lot of action, which I guess you can expect. We had so much action in 60, you wouldn't want action, but the breather felt a little too hard. I'm really hoping that Kirkman is going to make this a hard book to read again. It had a pretty good last page, but I'm not quite sure. It feels like he's just going to double up on what we saw in 60. Not to spoil anything, but I really don't know if he can keep the momentum going, especially if this Invincible War, the Invincible War, which is the current miniseries or event that it's going through, that's going to run out of steam quick. So hopefully it'll get back to some of the relationship kind of things. I mean, the thing that really made Invincible great to read, especially for ever once it got to the all-new period, was the fact that Invincible was allowed to age. Ultimate Spider-Man is pretty much pointless at this point because he's still going to be that same teenager. Invincible was allowed to grow up, so now he's maturing. You're getting different kind of things. If it just goes back to the superhero junk, I might walk again. I've walked on Invincible a couple of times. I really want to stick around because I just like that book. And my last book of the time, like I said, I bow down to Warren Ellis. The guy has made me care about G.I. Joe. And even though Dr. Sleepless isn't that awesome anymore, I'm still reading Ignition City. Ignition City number 2 came out, and it seems pretty good. Like I said, it is. If you were given this book with no author credit, you'll know it's Warren Ellis. His characters talk like this; they're very vulgar, but the ideas are cool. And this whole failure of the space age is played a lot better than the failure of the science age is in Dr. Sleepless. If he can keep this coming out once a month, and I think it's like a 5 or 6-parter, if all 5 or 6 parts come out within the next 5 or 6 months, this could be a pretty solid read. I mean, the art's okay, the mystery seems to be cool, and I'm hoping for some space action. But anyway, if you really want to get your Warren Ellis fix, watch G.I. Joe. It's on Cartoon Network. It's all over YouTube. G.I. Joe Resolution. It is awesome.